late, squires. UFC is finished. Your friends have all gone home.
And the gloves come off.
The real fights begin. Sleep deprived.
Drunk or high.
All are welcome to Fights of the Round Table.
And we are here at Fights of the Round Table for this post-fight show here with this 9-card event at Vegas 7 UFC. It was a historical night, for better or worse. We saw history made tonight multiple times over. Fight of the round of the year contenders in there. I expected a C-level event. I think we got a C-level event, but it was a memorable one. I mean, some of this was dog shit.
Overall, it very much exceeded my expectations.
I would agree with that.
It
is a B plus.
I enjoyed it a ton. And I was all talking shit. And from the first fight of the night, like, even when I was by myself, I kept clapping, being like, I like that. I like that. Like, it was good fights, even if it wasn't for the guy I was cheering for.
Absolutely. And there was so many people to cheer for this one. I mean, the fight cards after we had our regular Lat B podcast, 4 fights changed after that amount of time, 2 of them within 24 hours of the actual fight. Some of those notable ones being, who was it? Valiev Stiegel, after he weighed in, Sturgill there. He withdrew due to injury. Then there was also, after weigh-ins, Gooden with an injury. No, that was before that. Who was it? There was another one after weigh-ins that ended up falling through. OSP tested positive 24 hours before the fight after weigh-ins as well.
Oh, is that
so
what
that
happened?
fight was stretched? That's what happened with OSP versus Alonzo Menafield falling off in the co-main event.
Okay. I really had
Or
no
right
idea
before.
why it fell off. I didn't even question it. I was just like, no!
Takashi Sato ended up falling out for herpes. I mean, eczema. He had a big post go yesterday talking about he has herpes, he'll be fine. And then I translated the actual Japanese article, and it translated to a case of shingles. And I was like, oh, look at this. This translates horribly. There's a big difference.
You know what?
So,
not
Sato's already getting booked for another bout.
Isn't shingles just the chicken pox?
Leftovers, I believe. Yeah, I think you're right there. But the commission stopped it.
I know. I'm just thinking for myself about vaccines working. I was like, isn't the shingles just chicken pox? I thought we got vaccinated for that shit. Anyways.
You are right.
We're just kicked off YouTube.
We probably were restricted there. So Sato fell out with shingles.
Shingles is bullshit call out, but I don't want chicken pox, especially as an adult. The later, I know it's a little different, and I think the way shingles works is one whole half of your body, like you start getting an itch somewhere on one side of your body, and then your joints start hurting on that side, but it is a literal line down your body, and you only get your joints and the rash only happen on one side of your body. If that's the shingles. I'm
no scientist over here, so you can't ask. You don't ask me. I ain't no damn scientist. I pick fights. That's about it. And I would have said, you can fight with shingles just because I've seen it in wrestling matches. Like, you're fine. Does my I Ain't No Scientist song?
No, it was. It said Zoltan, but it wasn't loud enough to hear, so we just got the song breakdown. Let's see. Let's try it again.
Zoltan!
High quality content.
That's gonna be my new
quality
favorite.
Content if I've ever heard it.
Zoltan. Come get silly. Okay.
So the other fight of the 4 that fell out after weigh-ins was Dwight Grant over Kalen Bourne. Bourne withdrew for personal reasons. I haven't been able to figure out why. So all of a sudden, UFC was like, hey, Daniel Rodriguez, Dwight Grant, you both made 170. You want to fight each other? Okay. And then we got a fight of the year contender out of it. So that was fun, but wish I would have had a little more tape study on that. Ended up, we'll get there. We'll talk about it when we get there. But anything else interesting happened before this fight card? Because, I mean, expectations were low.
I just feel like there's been not about this fight card, just John Jones, Israel, little stuff going back and forth about toothpick legs. There was a big knockout last night with Ryan Bader. I think the hottest news in MMA right now is that Ricky went to bed. Ricky went to bed, and Buddy ain't
Ricky's
here.
a little bitch, and so is Buddy.
We were the
He's
late
probably
ones.
over on nitrous oxide, passed out on the side of the bed.
He has the balloon. Can you even imagine if that's the way Ricky partied?
With his high voice.
He has that whip it gun from the 90s, like, hey, you guys.
Evo whipping.
I really enjoy these fights. He sounds like China. Come look at my vagina. That is the perfect. Yeah. Wop, 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 wop. Yeah. Wop, wop.
Exactly. Entering the void
I've
there.
never done that, though.
I was young once and dumb once, for sure. It'll hit you on the side of the head.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think was the Oven St. Preux and Minifield falling out before this fight, right before the fight. And I think it was kind of one of the bigger fights on the whole card, maybe the biggest fight on the fight card.
100% exposure with my 5 whole cards that I played on DraftKings because it was just such a gross night. I was like, all right, I'm going to not put any more money. I just changed it. But all of a sudden, I had either OSP or Menifield on either one of those 5 cards. So I would have been 100% shit out of luck without a 45-minute check-in by my homegirl, Cheney, letting me know what was going down.
Oh, my gosh. I was so... Well, I did my Fight Pick Championship. And then I saw that there was an update to the fight, and it was before the Minifield fallout. I just realized that there was a different fight that I had to do, or I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I did them, whatever. And then I looked at it, and I was like, whoa, when did Minifield fall out? Because I looked at my DraftKings. Also, the Fight Pick Championships are 100% not correct. Those were my first picks. So there are 2 more fights that I did better on than those picks because I had changed my Fight Pick Championships to Edgar decision, and I changed my Fight Pick Championship to Rodriguez knockout round 1. So those 2
perfects.
Woo, woo, woo. I might be in first place. I don't know. I'm probably competing with Alpha. Just like
he definitely had a couple of perfects in there as well, that son of a gun. But we got some other heavy hitters having some great call outs on the Fight Pick Championships, which we'll eventually get to in this 9-card bout. But historically, this was one of the shorter ones, and boy did the underdogs deliver here. The starting off bout at a catch weight on 24 hours notice, Trevin Jones comes in for the replacement of a replacement. Stiegel, Valiev was supposed to fight 2 weeks ago. He's finally ready to get in the UFC. The doggy fighters all set up to go, and he almost finishes Jones with a body teep in the first round. I mean, Jones is turtled up, almost out of it, fighting properly or eating punches, but still defending somewhat. The ref did a great call, I think. Let it keep going. And at the end of the first round, with the last 10 seconds, Jones shot a takedown and got it. And I was like, oh, shit, this is a really fun fight all of a sudden. And did Valiev gas himself a bit? Because he threw 40 punches when he hurt him to the body there. I mean, he was throwing kicks, elbows, more body shots. And then in the second round, Jones came out, got in his face, wasn't scared after that first round, and landed a right straight that put Valiev down. I thought Valiev fought it off well. landed a couple more shots in the guard of Valiev. Valiev looked with it the whole time. Valiev started to sit back up into Jones to start grappling, and the ref called it off. So I thought he did really well the first call off, or the first non-intervention, and then the second one, I did think that was an early stoppage. I thought Valiev had a lot left in the tank, and that fight was just getting good.
There was a first time with the first intervention with Valiev, I was thinking, oh my gosh, he should stop this. He should stop this. He should stop. And then as I watched it again in slow motion, I'm like, holy shit, he got out of the way of most of those shots. Like, he was blocking them well with his getting hit on his shoulder and things like that. But you're right. I did agree when the stoppage came. It was a correct one. Am I thinking of the right fight? Now I'm all confused.
No, there's multiple of them.
With the weird stuff.
No, this is the first one. It was early because Valiev was shooting on the legs. Mm-hmm. He was shooting on his opponent. He was already sitting up to go for a double leg takedown.
This one was the early stoppage. Yes, this one was the early one, and we when we didn't watch it together, but when you got here, we agreed on it, and the same ref was the ref, and so we were like, oh, this is why he let the Rodriguez fight go on as long as he did, because of this fight was called just a little early. I would have liked to see another, to me he was going for the takedown, and it even looked like when he was separated, even though he looked like he grabbed the ref, it looked like more out of frustration of, you are not stopping this fight right now.
Yeah, he was immediately contesting it while he was still on the legs, moving up. So we're both on that. And I think the UFC and Dana White's smart enough to see that. He was hurt, but I mean, he was not out. Valiev was not out in that fight at any given time whatsoever. So excited to see both of those young men keep moving forward in the UFC, because they are going to have multiple fights left. Then we went to the double debut of Matthew Semmelsberg, semi in there, coming in against Carlton Minus. Fun fight, close fight. Minus giving a little too much respect in between rounds, being like, I like this guy. He's a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. Instead of just like, I got to go finish this guy. Easily 2 rounds for Semmelsberger, but I don't know how high either one of these guys at 170 ceiling is. I think if they both struggled with each other this much, this is probably the easiest fight they're getting at 170 in there. So I don't know. I'm not too excited moving forward with either guy. Still really tentative. Fight anybody in there. Did you take anything away from this double debut?
Neither of them are young men, are they? Like, young enough?
Late 20s, early 30s for both of them.
I thought it was an exciting fight. I liked the volume that I saw from both dudes. I think there might be some people that can't withstand that kind of just constant 15 minutes of brawl. I enjoyed both. I almost don't want to say I don't like either of them, only because I'm hoping that they're like good enough that they make other new guys maybe not look so good. I don't know. I don't see them being contender runners. They're not guys I'm putting on my ones to watch list, but I don't hate either of them. I enjoyed that fight a lot. I was surprised. I felt like I was watching a Bellator, or like two fighters I didn't know anything about. Like, I might as well have not even been
watching a Bellator match.
I know.
You were absolutely watching. That's what it was.
Like, but I usually don't ever watch anything but the UFC, and watching this fight, I found myself loving MMA for MMA. It didn't matter the names. It didn't matter I was just really enjoying
it's just
the
a
whole
fight.
fight. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So then we went into another debuter on short notice with about 48 hours. We had Jordan Wright come in against Ike Villanueva, maybe about a week's notice. Never mind on that, 6 days. But this was a doctor cut stoppage, a minute 30 into it. Wright getting that clinch and just throwing some knees down. One of the worst cuts we've seen. I saw that eyebrow muscle move a few times. Underneath, like in the scary movies where you see like the inside of the flesh move because it's an alien behind the skin. That's what Ike Villanueva's forehead did to me. I was just like, oh, there was a hand in there.
A guy come out and was like, hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my good time gal. That's a Spaceballs
Unreal.
For those of you who are old enough out there. I won on DraftKings tonight.
Nice, big hits. I got my money back and barely. I might be like a couple bucks short, but I barely played DraftKings. rightfully so, and even bets. I only had one PMP, and boy, did that one not work out. But there were so many. Just it was a really sketchy betting card. Unless you're liking underdogs, well, you made a big one this time around with that Jones one, which I thought was a underdog of the year potential with Jones coming in against Valiev minus 500 for Valiev. I was like, oh, there's a underdog of the year right there. That's a Kamara freaking or what's his name? Whatever. Other fighter, but either way, Jones getting it
Usman?
done.
No, just kidding.
Not Usman. I
Kamala
want to say
Harris?
worthy, comma worthy type of performance in there. So Jones being fun in there with a 13-6 record. Then Wright, Villanueva. I don't know what to take from Wright, but he's not a 205er.
It's just long enough, too.
Jordan Wright, do you take anything away from this Dr. Code stoppage for the 85er? Because he did fight up at 205, which he did not.
I like what I saw. I liked his tie clinch. I thought his knees were hella high. They're going to be dangerous for a lot of people. What I didn't like is he looked really sloppy against a really low-level opponent. He got caught with some shots that were kind of dangerous. And if the fight didn't end when it did, the way he looked right afterward, he looked like he had a shit gas tank and he done blew his wad already.
Thank you, because that's exactly what I see. I think that there's potential to be bet against Wright moving forward, especially if he's a favorite. But again, moving down to 85, he's going to get a much higher competition level and more athletic guy. Again, like Villanueva, I've never thought was UFC caliber. So I think that this proves it a little bit more, even though it wasn't really his fault. I mean, it was a knee that landed. But I think Villanueva, if that went into the second and third round, we would have probably had another upset on our hands. But crafty, interesting fight. Then we went to the 115 pounders where Amanda Lemos came in against Mizuki Inoue. Mizuki, I thought, got 2 of those rounds. The judges thought at least 2 to 3 of them went to Lemos. Super close split, not a split decision, a decision all the way around for Lemos. She ended up dropping, I think, Mizuki in 1 round, and that really cemented it. So both ladies moving forward, I think they got many fights ahead of them. Lemos being off for so long, coming back after them steroids, but moving down 2 weight classes, she looked like she got her gas tank issues under control. Throws with power and is good on the ground. Anyway, still looks a little undersized and still just kind of unathletic. She uses a lot of skill and technique in there, which I like, but she got out-muscled.
Out-muscled and a little out-skilled on the ground. The more power shots. She looked really bad in the first round. It was hard. Even if anything was close after that. I don't know. I am not really impressed with Inoue. I did have Lemos, so it was easier for me to see the fight 2 rounds to 1 for Lemos, but I'm not really high on her going forward. But I don't like either ladies really going forward.
I agree. It seemed a little. It is the UFC, and they're both UFC caliber fighters. So again, put them in against anyone, and they're going to be absolutely fine. But I do got to see some more. Give me some more. Then we started off the main card
Inoue
with the
from?
Fight Pick Championships. Japan, but she's been training with Frankie Edgar over at Serra-Longo for the last 2 to 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So we did all that over at Lat B MMA podcast. I know there's fights of the round table, but essentially Lat B representing heavy duty in this bitch.
Yeah, and I would, if the Discord thing was up right now, I would give everybody a shout out with the standings of the fights of the Fight Pick Championships.
They haven't released the scores.
No, nothing is released. And I know, let me look real quick. I am going to the Backlog Network, which you guys are welcome to join if you are on Twitch or not. It is a great channel to find interesting people to talk about fights, gaming, and a bunch of other things. So fights results, fight picks. No, it's not up yet. Let's see if everyone's name's on the side. I can give little shout outs. I don't know if everyone wants these names as their names. Yeah, I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going by their um, usernames.
You guys will have to make sure that you're listening to Lap B. We will give a shout out at least to the top three, and we'll talk shit to everybody else. And as you know, if you haven't signed up for the Twitch yet or the Discord, then you are late to the party, and you probably should get off the YouTube. We shouldn't be on YouTube much longer. So yeah, there's that. So I'm not giving a shout out to anyone then, I guess.
So the Fight Picks Championships did start off with one bout being cut all the way out. OSP. OSP versus Benefield fell out, leaving it only a 4-card bout for the FPC. I totally agree because I wanted those points. Wanted those damn points.
Did you end up with OSP at the end?
I still had OSP picking him via submission. And the way the night was going, I'm like, it's a night of gassing. People are fucking, well, we'll get to that. But first we had the first fight of the Fight Pick Championship card was Daniel Rodriguez coming in against Dwight Grant on essentially after weigh-ins 24-hour notice after both of their opponents fell out for other reasons. And this only went 2 minutes and 24 seconds, but we had Daniel Rodriguez get hurt with a left hand right cross that knocked him down to the ground. He did well the ref did well to let this fight keep going, but Grant threw 30, 40 strikes, started to gas out pretty heavy, and Daniel Rodriguez was able to stand back up. And all of a sudden, he was able to start throwing 2 and 3 punch combinations. And I remember saying, oh, his third round's Daniel Rodriguez's best round. So he's only going to get better from here. And then he just starts unloading on Grant, whose arms were dead. Grant couldn't throw a jab after that blitz that he put on Rodriguez, almost getting him out of there in the first 60 seconds of the fight. So I thought it was only going to be a matter of time for that round one finish to come to Rodriguez. It was absolutely right. Grant went down heavily, ate a few shots, didn't contest it at all. I like what we're getting from Rodriguez. I'd like to see that even though he was hurt, he was totally smart. When he was getting battered there, he kept blocking as intelligently as you can. The ref was talking to him, and he kept just turning and blocking instead of just leaving that hand down or just kind of tapping to strikes. Rodriguez really, really showed me some good stuff in there, even though it was a short one. But I've been high on D-Rod for a little while. The what?
High ring IQ. Like, he just had a good ring IQ in there. The one thing I didn't like, I felt like he is really susceptible and open to an overhand right. And Dwight caught it with him more than once. Even after the scramble, he caught it with him 2 more times. One time it looked like it almost knocked him out on his feet a little bit. And I would just like to see a little more composure from him. In those moments of picking his shots better. He has such good power, and he's great in the scrambles. It doesn't seem as necessary to me for the constant chase down. I just think he needs to calm down. That's what I felt like. It was a night of a couple people where I'm like, slow down, calm down in there, calm down. It is that smaller cage, though. I don't think it gives people that that 5 feet or 10 feet difference must be all the difference in the world when you're staring across from your opponent.
Yes. Oh, yes. It does change everything in there. So with Dwight Grant, get him in there against anyone at 170. Rodriguez, it's starting to be people with names, top 25ers, top 19. I mean, he's got the win over Means, who just have a good fight. People are high on Grant as well there. Can't give him much on the Gonzalez fight, but D-Rod, again, somebody that I don't know if he's going to be an underdog in too many spots, honestly. I think a lot of people are going to start to get on that train sooner than later. So, fun prospect at 33 years old for Rodriguez there. Then we move on to the biggest upset of all time potentially here at 125 pounds. We had Shayna Dobson coming in against Marina Agapova. Agapova being a 1250 minus 1300 favorite.
It's so true, though.
We were saying it was gonna be a free space there. That Agapova was gonna be better striking on the ground, especially going to American Top Team in Florida, really getting her camp together. Uh, Only to miss out on Shayna Dobson being over at Team Elevation for a little while now, and that Elevation crew has been doing pretty good for us in general. So Dotson came in and weathered the storm in that first round. Marina in that first was balls to the wall. I mean, in her warm up, she was doing the freaking Friends double tapping mofos up in this piece, flipping them off all over the place. It was pretty funny. But she was definitely high strung. She knew that she was a high favorite, and she went out there to finish the fight in that first round and blew her wad. Absolutely blew all of it. And in that second round, you could see already at the end of the first round that it's like, she's looking like she's getting a little tired. And Dotson came out hard in that second round, showed that she was just getting going. And Agapova, I mean, barely put up a fight. She got ragdolled to the ground in just 8 punches and then literally had to be stretchered out of the octagon. They could barely get her to sit down in the stool. She was a ragdoll.
Oh, I thought she just hurt her Francis Bean bone. What did they say? Sugar Sean hurt his Ellen Chance.
Not a femoral artery. What are they calling it?
It's a lady name. I don't know. His Anne Frank. He hurt his Anne Frank bone again, but it hit the nerve or something in his leg, and it had to be stretchered out. Did you see, speaking of that real quick, did you see him talk shit about Cheeto on his podcast?
I hate it so much. What a dirty piece of trash. Way to be a loser and not just accept the L, say I'm going to get back to it. It really shows the immaturity of Sean O'Malley. And it's like, oh, okay, this is why you're not like, yeah, you might be a real high level contender, but with this mentality, it's like, no, you're gonna end up finding out who the real jobber is here. Because did you hear his like, Cheeto's nothing. In 5 years, we'll see where he is to where I am. And it's like, you just lost the fight. You have nowhere to talk. You have no room to speak right now about that.
And it really let me believe, hearing his tone and hearing him in that interview made me feel like he is surrounded by yes men and he is stunted, and it really gave me a feeling like kid needs a new camp ASAP, because his coaches, obviously something went wrong in that fight for you to learn from. Like, obviously. So for you to not, and if you don't want to be humble in defeat and you want to take the heel role for your character, cool, do that. But you obviously needed to work on something, and if your coaches aren't telling you that, like, okay, kid, and maybe it's still too soon after the fight. They'll let him talk shit, and then he'll get back into camp, and we'll see a little change in his attitude. But it kind of worries me that his friends are his coaches, and that maybe it's okay to have Conor McGregor mentality, because everyone always likes to say, well, what about Conor McGregor? What about Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor backed up what he did. You can't have Conor McGregor mentality and you're losing to your first name opponent. It's, it doesn't work with me.
I just absolutely love the lap B ankle exploitation you were talking about before that, because just saying, go back and listen to that show. I ain't no scientist,
but I know, and I have to be quicker about it. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, here it is.
Zoltan!
Every time you say, I ain't no scientist, that's my cue. I ain't ever said I'm a smart person.
But those ankles were busted for a while there. But here, I guess the line we were trying to draw with Agapova is that she let that hype get to her, and you're in a real fight. You were in a real fight in there, and your opponent, doesn't matter what the odds are. You could be a Roxanne Modafferi against Macy Barber. You could be a Derek Brunson against Shabazian.
Yeah.
Who was the other motherfucker who just shit the bed? Valiev just shit the bed again against Jones.
And Dobson looked amazing out there. It was the best I've ever seen her handle her cardio. And then you said, holy shit, I can't believe we didn't know this. Homegirl's at elevation now. And we were
She
like,
was like, "Oh, all my coaches, all my trains. That's my fault.
and we
That's
were
my
like,
fault.
oh,
I didn't do enough research."
yeah, if we would have known elevation, that maybe it probably wouldn't have with such a heavy thing. We were kind of poo-pooing
Agreed, it
Dobson.
wouldn't have.
She just seemed like she didn't have heart in there, and she looked great this fight. And then Agapova, yeah, she looked winded. Yes, she looked exhausted. Yeah, she took some headshots that maybe even one wobbled her. Something happened to her on that mat that was not okay. I don't know if she had a heart attack. I don't know if something popped, but something extra happened to her that we don't see in everyday fights. Like the way her face went flat on that mat, it's a scary situation.
The way they were sitting her on the stool, if you go back and watch the replay, because I was really watching her, she was limp as they were putting her in there, and then they put her on. That's why they put her on the stretcher, because they're like, she can't even sit up right now. It could have been a complete gassing, but I think that you might be right as well, and you might find that there's some underlying issue going on medically there, because it was as big a dump as I've ever seen. So the odds may have a little to do with that, though, because we were flying high for a bit there with that -1300, freaking one of the biggest scores
I hope
ever.
she
So
didn't hurt her.
MMA, be careful.
I hope she didn't hurt her Lisa Kudrow bone. I just pick out a random person's name, lady name, with the Sugar Sean O'Malley.
So then we went on to 150 pounds where we had Joe Shalecki come in against Austin Hubbard, also the PMP over here for Zol tonight. It didn't work out. Austin Hubbard let this fight get right to the ground.
I stopped it quick that time.
That's awesome. Just like the other fights that he fought with Davi Ramos and Mark Madsen, giving up the takedown, but really able to fight off a lot of those other submissions. Here, it looked like Shalecki just had control the entire time. Once he got that body triangle in, he just kept switching sides for that rear naked choke. And when it was in deep, it was in deep. Hubbard didn't go completely out. He tapped right before, but he was going to go out. That thing was as textbook as it comes when it came to the strangulation there. Joe Shalecki, great job. I still am not high on the 10-2 fighter. I was a lot higher on Hubbard with what he did as of late, but holes in both of the, not necessarily Shalecki, Hubbard, but yeah, I'm not sold on Shalecki.
I like what I saw from
Joe
Selecki. This will be the first time that I'll remember this, an Austin Hubbard victory, and the way he went about doing it, how intelligent it was, how in control he was the entire time, how he just did everything right in that tiny little moment of just the submission hold of being on his back the whole time. I think he's dangerous. He's a dangerous dude. I like Joe Selecki. I'll have to remember that, and I'll have to not let Austin Hubbard just become a wash for me.
That's probably a better call, where I'll have to be a little more tentative and give the respect to Shalecki, especially where Hubbard can still make a name for himself. Both of these guys being super young, having many fights ahead of them. Then we moved on to the co-main event, the replacement co-main event, where we had Mike Rodriguez finishing Marcin Prachnio at 205 in 2 minutes. We told you guys to be careful. We told you guys all Rodriguez, no Rodriguez. Guess what? All Rodriguez came through heavy duty there. But still, Prachnio is such a low-level fighter that I am still going to have to remind myself that when Rodriguez is a -200 to 300 favorite against anyone next time, do not trust it, because he still hasn't fought a caliber fighter. Prachnio's just not there. Showed it again. He keeps his hands down and lets his face block the punches. It does not work. So Prachnio's probably getting his peak slip. He's getting on out of here. And then Rodriguez, he's going to be a -300 favorite against a lot of other guys because of these finishes, but I'm going to be probably trying to fade him against somebody with a good gas tank and a good chin.
Slow, you said at the beginning of the fight, you said, is he crying? About Mike Rodriguez. That was the first thing you said when the fight started. Is Mike Rodriguez crying?
I did. I absolutely thought that too.
I know. I was like, oh no. And he did look like he took a couple of shots that I was nervous about for a minute, which if Prachnio knocked you out, that would be like, oh shit, this ain't good. it went the way that it should go for slow in there. But I agree with you that I don't know if you've seen, this isn't real competition with me, because you don't even think Prochnow should be there. So, I don't know. I agree. Get on out of here, Prochnow.
Absolutely get on. Who would you give Rodriguez next at 205?
Who's that kid that just won tonight?
But he's moving down to 85.
Oh, 205. Everyone I picture at 205 is the same boring kind of fighter as him. They're like Devin Clark. Has he already fought Devin Clark?
Rodriguez, I think, might have as well. And lost decision. I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure he did.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not name enough for me yet.
I agree with that. The co-main event spot, again, was given only because OSP fell out against Menefield because they were the co-main event. So, again, when all these people are talking about he was a co-main eventer, there's a lot of asterisks behind all of this specific win and this co-main event. But then we had a fight for the ages in a controversial split decision at 135 pounds. Frankie Edgar's inaugural 135 showing against Pedro Munhoz. This was a master class by The Answer. I honestly thought he had 3, if not 4 rounds, did Frankie Edgar, and I was on Munhoz's side. I thought Munhoz was going to get a knockout round number 3. Thought he was going to land harder shots. And those calf kicks were adding up the entire fight. Frankie Edgar had an answer to all of the questions, laid out a good jab and a high pace, and at the best I could do, was give Pedro Munhoz 2 rounds.
I agree. What I did notice from Pedro Munhoz is he had the forward pressure the entire fight. He was coming forward at Frankie, and he would come forward usually with like a popping jab where like it was like a feint, and then he'd come through to follow it. By the second round, Frankie was getting all the way out of the way of that and then countering with a 2-strike, 1-kick combination. Double right and then a kick combo. He always had a 2 strikes and then a kick to answer every time Munhoz was
an missing. Answer.
Yeah, he did have an answer. And
yeah,
I also felt like he probably, even if he securely won 3 of the rounds, he outstruck him 4, maybe all 5.
Was leaning on the side of 4 rounds to 1 for Frankie Edgar. That's what I was looking at real time. I haven't seen it back because we are fresh off of it literally about an hour ago. But as far as the strikes, this is really interesting. The strikes landed 166 for Munhoz against Frankie Edgar's 135. But in that, Frankie Edgar had 2 knockdowns. So
big deal.
Any knockdown should be a 10-8 as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
So that would make the fight just that much more decided for Frankie Edgar, honestly, with 2 knockdowns, because they were not in the same round. So really fun fight. You can't always rely on just the strikes. And in that sense, I know people are saying that Munhoz, with that control of the cage, should have got it more. I don't know. The fight just looked like, to me, that Frankie Edgar won it. Just watching it real time, it was Munhoz pressuring, but Frankie Edgar having those answers. And as you're saying, winning the exchanges, winning the end of those exchanges. Every once in a while, Munhoz would have 1 hard overhand right, but there was no follow-up. It'd be a 1 and done. It'd be 1 hard punch, and Frankie Edgar, again, 3, 4, 5 punch combinations out of the back door. Again, that leg, though, he's going to be walking stiff for a week. I'll tell you what, that calf, he did check a few of those, but Frankie Edgar looks like he's going to have, I'd say this is one of the toughest opponents he could have taken at 135. So it only goes up from here.
Do you want to see Edgar Aldo at 135?
Oh, no. No, I've seen that too many times.
No, it's so
he can't
funny.
beat Aldo. Can't do it.
The one thing, I know octagon control, but octagon control is the same as a takedown. If you don't do anything with it, it don't mean shit.
I agree with that. I really do. Absolutely.
Yeah. It was an okay fight night for me. Overall, I definitely think it should be a B+.
Historic. Not only with the fights falling out, the schedule changes, the fights getting put together, but a minus 1,300 fell tonight.
Who was the most
Woo!
boring fight of the night? Probably that fight, the Dobson, right?
No, because I was shitting my pants when that was happening.
It was, but
Because I was like, well, there go my parlays.
don't you think
The
everything
probably
was pretty exciting?
Lemos Inoue,
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, you're
Lemos
right.
Inoue, or Semi minus those two. But there was only 3 decisions on a 9-card bout, 6 finishes tonight.
Yeah, it was a very exciting fight night overall. What was the moment of the night that got you whap?
Oh, that rhinoplasty on freaking Villanueva's forehead. It was just.
My WAP moment of the night was the Rodriguez knockout after
I was
the
about to say
comeback.
the Rodriguez Grant was probably the actual fight sequence where I was like, round of the year contender. Absolutely round of the year contender, Rodriguez Grant there. Because fun turn. You had a bit of everything. Knockdowns, both guys. Woo! So much fun.
It
so
wasn't a
much
grappling
fun.
heavy night at all.
It really was not. So Shalecki was probably the only real wrestler out of it. And then
So it
Lemos
really
got
went
some
against
takedowns, but yeah.
the 25-foot rule. They always say it's a grappler's treat in the 25-foot octagon. And that did not be the case tonight. So
It was not.
Yeah.
It was definitely something was going on right though. There was probably I'll say a B. It was a B card, and again I was thinking it was going to be a C. So it exceeded my expectations by a whole lot more than that, more than likely.
agree. Yeah, it was a fun
And
night
then-
overall.
We have a contender series on Tuesday, and then we roll right into Vegas 8, where we have Anthony Smith coming in against Alexander Rakic.
I mean, that's an okay fight. Is the fight card okay?
That fight card's real good.
Oh, good.
I'm actually
Awesome.
super excited for it. Neil Magny, Robbie Lawler, Grasso Kim, Ankalaev, Kutalaba for the 19th million time.
Oh, that's a decent fight card. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Patillo's back on there. Cummings, Giga Chikatsi, Alex Caceres. Woo! Christina Aguilera. Woo! I mean, Christian Aguilera against Sean Brady.
I wanted to sing
Hannah
a Christina
Cypher's my girl.
Aguilera song, and I didn't know one. I was going to say, you're beautiful. I
Dirty.
just want you to know you're my favorite girl. And I'm like, no, she sings some beautiful song, but it isn't that one.
Let's get dirty. Let's get dirty. Let's get dirty. That's all I know.
But doesn't she have one that's like beautiful?
No matter what they say,
You're
their
beautiful.
words can't sing you. That's Fat Tina. That's Fat Tina when you came up with that one.
Zoltan!
All right. Yeah, I think on that note, I'm definitely going to keep adding sounds to the board, though. I'm going to have to find
Absolutely
ones
a
for
win.
Buddy and Ricky. And yeah, so we'll be doing Lat B on Wednesday live on Zoltanite's Twitch channel. So please join us. Otherwise, you can hit it everywhere, and you can find Ricky and Buddy on MMA Marks, and Buddy over at MMA_Marks on Twitch, and Ricky, I think, at Ricky Jitsu. I'm looking down the side. I don't want to, but yeah, check them out. MMA Marks, and they stream live to Ricky's channel, and we're always shouting and retweeting that stuff out from our Twitter page, so make sure you're following us at Lappy_MMA. And for anyone, if you care, I'm doing a conspiracy podcast tomorrow live on my Twitch, and we're going to be talking about some crazy, weird flat earth, hollow earth, mud flood, giant Nephilim type stuff. So if you want to
Cool.
be next level open-minded and come get wake and bake on a Sunday with us, totally join us live for that too. So do you have anything to plug before we get on out of here?
Sounds like fun. Only thing I gotta say is we coming for that mini belt. You better be ready.
Zoltan!